Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is Comics Today. This is a show that we do every single Wednesday night to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day, and I certainly want to welcome you to this live stream. If this is your first time checking out the live stream, you are in for a treat because we have a good time with these live streams, and we typically do them, as I mentioned, on Wednesday and also on Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I want to encourage you to come on out and be part of the celebration. If you have yet to subscribe to the channel, I want to encourage you to do that. That way, you can stay abreast of all the content that I release from the channel on a weekly basis, and it also makes you eligible for awesome giveaways like this. X-Men issue number 13, the second appearance of Juggernaut, just one of the books that we give away every single week. On this show, Comics Today, we typically have a guest or two on the show to help me to make sense of something that is in the news, but to also just talk about comics. This episode, we are going to actually talk to an indie comic book creator in just a few moments. And what I will tell you is that this is actually the first of two interviews that are going to be coming up with comic book creators. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to stay tuned. In just a moment, I am going to go to the chat to give a shout out to the folks that are hanging out in the room. But the way that we do it on Wednesday is that I ask you, if you've been to the local comic shop and picked up some comics today, to put your list up in the comments section. If you read a book or two and there's some good stuff out there that we should put on the top of our reading pile, I want you to shout that out as well. And that's how we're going to acknowledge the folks that are joining us for this live stream. So I'll give folks a couple of minutes to get their list together and get it plugged in there. And I will show you guys the one book that I managed to pick up this week because I have not been to the LCS is this book right here. I picked up the Virgin of the ASM 55, the second print variant. This is the book. It is a really awesome book. It arrived yesterday, and it arrived here at the house, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I have no clue what I ordered because most things go to the PO box. But lo and behold, I actually ordered a Virgin. So I'm pretty pumped about that, and hope to be able to make it to the comic shop tomorrow to be able to pick up the rest of my book. So I saw Jerry G in here. I think he has a date night with the wife. So shout out to Jerry G for being able to hang out with us for a hot second. Mass Snow was up in here. He says, long time, first live stream in a while. It's good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Scrolling down through the comments here to see what you guys may have picked up. Jerry, how you doing, brother? He says, once again, my LCS gets the new books a day late. So maybe tomorrow. I know at least one of my comic shops that did not get their books on time either. I think they arrived like today, and like the 2 hours before the shop opened, the owners were scrambling trying to get everything done. Sidian says his LCS was closed due to unexpected construction. Hopefully they will be back up soon. Scrolling through, Mass Snow says, no new comics for me. His BHAG, if you guys don't know what that is a big, hairy, audacious goal, and we believe in those. He picked up a Daredevil Silver Age book. There you go. Picked up issues 8 through 80 for $1 a piece. He says he's missing 100 issues to complete the run. Congrats to you, my friend, on that, because the Daredevil run's a good run, man. So congrats. Andrea, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you drop one of those G's. Aloha, everyone. Daniel from Hawaii, is good to see you, my friend. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Doug, how you doing? He said, did not get to hit the LCS today, but eBay showed up. eBay for the win, my friend. I get it, man. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Did anybody go to the LCS today? I don't think anybody did. Picked up a couple of Marvel titles from an out-of-town shop while working. You weren't working. If you were at the LCS, you were not child. No. Good stuff, my brother. Hopefully you picked up some good stuff. Scrolling through some of the comments here. L. Smith is in the house. It's good to see you, my friend. He said, picked up books from last week on Tuesday. This week's books have not yet made it to the LCS. Still recovering from the weather. Got it. Got it. Hopefully things get back on track, my friend. Chris Bigger's in the house, hitting the LCS this weekend. I think a lot of us are kind of in that boat. Kimball, he said he picked up Next Batman 4, Nightwing 2, X-Men 18, Marauders 18, and X-Men Legends. X-Men Legends, that was last week, right? I actually picked that copy up myself. Have not read it, but I did get that. Philip says he picked up Marvel Voices, House of Ale, Superman. What is that? 2 Walmart books. And then, okay, very nice. Very nice. The High Republic. There we go. High Republic. Good stuff right there. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Those yellow waters aren't looking that good for you, my friend. Bearded says he picked up Star Wars 29, FF 31, 35, 37, all in the mail. There you go. That's what's up. So again, what is this? Mike Yang. I think, is that the first time I've seen your name, Mike Yang? If it is good to see you. Says, listen to your videos pretty much every day to and from work. There you go. First time caught a live stream. It is good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the live stream. This is where all of the magic happens. All right. So as I alluded to at the top of the show, we are going to have an indie comic book creator on the channel tonight who is set to release his first graphic novel. That's a comic book. First graphic novel on April 7th. And to that point, I want to welcome to the show my man, Maurice. It is good to see you, my friend. Let me take this banner off of your forehead so that we fully drink you. Maurice.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Reggie. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure to see you, my friend, and thank you for making time out. I know you sent me a message saying that you may get hit with a power outage in your neck of the woods, so I wanted to get to you early just in case you suddenly go dark.
It's that kind of year, eh?
No. That was last year. This is a new year. Things are supposed to be better over here. Isn't that the rumor? Is that what they say?
Soon, yeah.
Soon, okay. So Maurice, I want to thank you, man, for reaching out to me. As I mentioned to you when we spoke the other day, the email that you sent me was one of the most comprehensive emails that I have received in a very long time. And in this email, you outlined for me who you were, why you were contacting me. You let me know you were familiar with the content. You gave me some little nuggets about who you are and where you come from and what might make you interesting. Like, you literally gave me everything so that I could make a decision as to whether I wanted you on the show. And I went from the sofa reading your email to the office to send you a message to say, let's do it. Because every question I had, you answered in the email. So I want to thank you for that. And again, thank you for making time out to join me today.
Super. Well, I'm very happy to be here.
So what we are talking about is a comic, and we're gonna get to that in just a second. But this is the book we're going to talk about tonight. Is the first comic that you have ever created. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what exactly did you do on this book? I know there's a lot of creators out there that are super talented that do the writing, the inking, the lettering, all of that good stuff. Break it down for me. What did you do to get this book done?
Well, I wrote it and I hired artists from all around the world, inkers, colorists from everywhere, from Brazil, Indonesia, Philippines, Mexico, US, Canada, Italy. So it's there's talent from all over the world and I used to do movies as a writer-director. So for me, this is, I find like comic books are almost like a little cousin to movies, where all the muscles that are used when directing a movie are sort of used as well in comic books, where for a movie, let's say you'll do a storyboard and pick the shots that you want for each. So that's what I was doing for this. I wrote the story, did all the research, the historical research, and even for the costumes, the the locations, the weapons, everything had to be accurate. And all this work I did and furnished images to each artist for each page. So they could just concentrate on doing the best artwork they can do and not have to do the research. So I furnished all of that to them because lots of stuff was not necessarily easy to come by. So I couldn't put that burden on the artist who already has a lot of work to do. So basically, so I the only not so fun part that I also did is, of course, I paid everyone out of my pocket. So
I talked to a buddy of mine recently, and we had a conversation about a project that he's working on. And he was like, yeah, man, it's a whole lot of fun right up until you have to pay. And I'm like, that's the case with so many things, you know, whether you're paying out of pocket or you're paying in other ways, it's fun right up until you have to pay for it. But to the point that you just made there, you took on this creative endeavor to create this 110-page graphic novel that is going to be dropping, I think, April 7th. But you are not necessarily a first-time creator. Like, you're a first-time comic book creator, but not a first-time creator. Right. You are, in fact, a veteran filmmaker. And I think your last movie, and I want to get it right, is called End of the Line. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, like, End of the Line and what that movie was and why you created it and how long ago it was, all that kind of stuff. Give me a little bit of texture there.
End of the Line was a horror film that takes place in a subway where the subway stops in the middle of a station, and there's a cult that is in many of the different parts of the station. And in this cult, they get a message that it's the Armageddon tonight. And in their beliefs, to save your soul, they have to kill you. Because if you're still alive when the Armageddon hits, you'll go to hell. So as a goodwill gesture, they have to kill you before the Armageddon hits. So you start having all these, of course, bloody mess in the subways and people escaping onto the rails and all the dark tunnels. And during all this, some people start seeing different creatures and monsters. So then, could the cult be right? So that's a movie. That's the synopsis. And it came out on DVD and Blu-ray. It's, it wasn't a big release in theaters. It was a lower budget film, but it did get around, and it's got some good scares in it, and I'm sure any horror fans might enjoy it if they seek it out.
I love a good horror movie, man. But to your earlier point, I think you basically said that comics are like a little cousin to movies. So talk to me about the similarities in the creative process. And you kind of touched on it already, but if you're writing, I guess, like a treatment and a script for a movie, like, how similar is that in a storyboard? How similar is that to what you would do for like a graphic novel? I mean, the process is night and day, or is it like shades of darkness between?
Well, of course, there's a bit of a learning curve of difference because, of course, each panel you have to get across some information through the visual that you're seeing in that one panel and your dialogue balloons and stuff like that. And so when you're constructing your page sequence, you have to, there's a few things you have to learn that are different from a movie that has movement, so it's a bit of a learning curve. But of course, all of us who've read comics since we were young, and like when we watch movies, we sort of have an understanding of what works and what doesn't. So of course, it's only sometimes when you see it that, oh no, this doesn't work. And you see something kind of doesn't flow right or whatever. But I think I did pretty good on that, that to learn, okay, this makes a nice page. And, and of course, the use of, let's say, splash pages is a way also sometimes to, like in a movie where you're bringing up to, let's say, like a big moment, and in the film it won't, it's not a splash page. It'll be something like the music will swell, or there'll be, something unexpected happens, etc. but in comics, you can have that a bit where if you're turning the page and suddenly there's a big splash page and there's a monster there or whatever, then, you try to create, it's a different, of course, it is a different medium. And, and they both have qualities that the other one doesn't have. And, but yeah, so I'm still learning. So of course.
So how was the creative process with the different creators that you work with? I mean, you cited a lot of different countries where you were working with folks. So was it a thing of you created the script or you wrote out specific details for a given page and you gave it to them and you let them be creative, and then there was a little bit of back and forth? Like, talk to me a little bit about what was that process like? Was it here's the script, or was it here are details for a page and I want you to bring these words to life on a page?
Well, I'm sure there's many different teams that work differently and et cetera. And I'm sure some artists have more leeway because, again, sometimes it's not like some scripts might be less specific, and they just they'll just say to the artist, in these 3 pages, there's a fight scene, go nuts. So some artists might be given more leeway in that way, and that might end up many times being better. In my case, of course, since I'm paying, I can't take the risk of necessarily because in those situations I just mentioned, well, usually the writer and the artist are paid, let's say, by DC or by Marvel. And, so if something doesn't turn out right, well, then it's the publisher that'll just pay to redo them. It won't be the writer, he's not going to pay out of pocket. But in my case, since I'm paying, if suddenly something came back and it didn't work, well, I'd have to pay him again, to redo it and et cetera, et cetera. So I tended to have very clear guidelines. And of course, sometimes there'd be a few deviations and I'd go, oh, okay, great. And this works. But most of the time I'd say, the pages came back and, oh yeah, that's exactly what I had seen. And it's just great to see it come alive.
Right. And I want to spend a little bit more time talking about some of this on the back end of things. I want to do that, but I also want to because I've been a little aloof in like what we're talking about here, and we are specifically talking about your new graphic novel called Clan of the Devil: The Sawney Bean Saga. Yes. And because of, again, the thoroughness in which you've approached this project, you actually sent something to me. Do you want to introduce what it is that you sent to me, or do you want me to do it? It won't matter to me.
Well, I think you're going to show the 30-second clip, a little promo, promo trailer. Actually, so it'll be like a shorter version of a longer trailer that'll be available on Kickstarter and elsewhere. But you have the exclusive first little look of that.
So it's not a snippet. It is a wonderful clipping of a really awesome trailer, and we are going to show it right now, and then we're going to get to it on the other side. So bear with me as we throw this up on screen right now. This is Clan of the Devil: The Sawney Bean Saga.
Ye think my clan be only cave-dwelling cannibals, but we dinna be savages. We be an army. But I am Sawney Bean, and the two monsters be King James, Clan of the Devil: The Sawney Bean Saga.
So Maurice, what did we just see there, brother? I mean, you have a cult in one of your movies that is like killing people, and now I'm seeing cannibals. Like, what did we just see in this clip?
Well, the Sawney Bean is some may be familiar with the legend through some other movies that sort of were inspired by it. People might know The Hills Have Eyes, that originally was a 1970s horror movie by Wes Craven, who made Nightmare on Elm Street and the Freddy Krueger. That they transposed, because this takes place, the original true story of this takes place in the 16th century in Scotland. And he Wes Craven did like a modern, at the time, adaptation that took place in a desert in Nevada, with these cannibals that attacked people, et cetera, et cetera. So it has leaked into inspired different things, but there's never been a full account of the surprisingly true events that happened back then about this family of cannibals that lived in a cave, attacked passersby on roads, brought them back to their caves, ate them, and survived for 25 years, breeding incestually lots of children along the way who grew up in this clan. And you were mentioning my other film had a cult in it. Well, that's actually what drove me to this story, because the original story of this is only 6 pages long, and it was in a book of from the 17th century that had like lots of tales of pirates and this and that, and this was just a short little story of 6 pages. But when I read it, it was like, oh my God, I have to do something with this, because without getting into too much spoiler territory, let's put it this way: the kids who were brought up, who only lived in this cave and be cut off from society, well, whatever they were doing, they thought it was right. They could not know it was wrong. They have no basis of right or wrong from the rest of society. So for me, I said, that's it. I'm going to tell this story from their point of view, and the rest of the world will be the monsters.
Check that out.
So
basically you took a 6-page story, if you will.
Yeah.
You've blown it out into a 110-page graphic novel. How long did it take you to do the research? Because you don't get 110 pages from 6 very easily. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about the research that you had to do.
Well, I did a lot of research, but I'm sorry, I'm laughing because actually it's not 110 pages. That's the first volume. I actually have 1,380 pages that are done. It's 12 volumes of about each 110, 120 pages each. The first volume is coming out April 7th, but I have the whole thing done. It only needs to be colored, and a few pages still need some inking, but basically it's all done. And I'm starting to release the first one soon. But yes, so yeah, so from 6 to epic, yeah. But the reason behind that is all the research I was doing. I kept learning all these incredible things. I was digging up historical documents from libraries in Scotland and in the UK and England that were available online, and finding like trial records. Actual trial records. You'd have like a scan of the trial records, and I'd be taking dialogue from what was said in 1591 in a court and putting it into this comic. So that's, it's like well, the only thing I had to do, of course, is the English back then was very different. So to be more comprehensible, it's been like sort of Game of Thrones-ish English, so that we can all understand it, but
because I can't even imagine the slang back then.
Well, it would take me a while to like, okay, what does this say? Okay, I got it.
And what does that mean? After I know what it says, what does it mean? But that is very, very cool. I don't think that I heard a time in there, a time limit for how long it took you to do the research. Did you skip over that part?
Well, I wrote the first draft screenplay, because actually at first I was thinking of doing a movie of this in 2002. So I wrote a screenplay that was more like a movie length, and it was too expensive to do as a sort of indie film. And I sort of put it away, and then did my other film, End of the Line. And then it was always in the back of my mind. And I came back to it reading it over and doing a bit more research. And then suddenly I discovered things that weren't available when I had first written it, that suddenly I found. And oh my God, it opened Pandora's box. I started, buying books left and right, and going to the library, getting books here and there, going on the internet, whatever. And then it just became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I knew, okay, this isn't a movie. It might be a miniseries, a few season miniseries. But then I was thinking, okay, what can I do? And I was thinking, you know what? I could transform this into a graphic novel series of comic books, and then it will exist. If ever it one day becomes something else, great. But if not, it will still be a finished work of art.
Yep. And then, so how did you land on taking what was originally just research, turned into a screenplay or a treatment? And then how did it become a graphic novel? Like, how did you land on that? Like, were you in comics before, or like, did you suddenly have an epiphany that I want to make a comic book? Talk to me a little bit about how you got there.
Yeah, well, of course, I was a collector, of course, of comic books when I was young. I had a huge collection of like over 10,000 comics. I actually, was a very young, I'd buy and sell and trade comics when I was a teenager, and it was very heavily into it. And I sold my entire collection when I was like 18 to help finance my first feature. So I was away from the comic book scene for a while, but of course, I still loved comics. And when I was in between, I had finished my other film, and I was thinking, I'd heard about movies like 30 Days of Night. That was a vampire movie. That actually was a screenplay that was going nowhere. He was trying to get it made as a movie. No one was interested. It became a comic book, a graphic novel, and and then it was picked up and became a movie. So that was sort of in my mind going, well, that could help generate interest eventually. But even if it didn't, the fact of, the worst thing, as a writer, if you're writing screenplays that don't become movies, it's a very sad thing because no one knows of them. They're not finished works of art. So for me, I had written a few screenplays after my last movie that didn't get made into movies, couldn't find the financing, et cetera, et cetera. So that was very frustrating. So that's when I turned to, okay, I'm going to do a finished work of art, which will be this comic book series. And even if it doesn't become a TV series one day, it doesn't matter. It will exist as a finished work of art. That's the plan.
Which I get. I mean, I definitely understand like a creator wanting to create, right? And to some degree, I mean, it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter whether it's a comic or a movie or whatever. A creator wants to create and wants to see that finished product, and that's basically what you're in pursuit of right now. So, I am curious. Can you alluded to it several points as we led into today that you had a funny story or an interesting story or anecdote about what it is that brought you back to comics. Do you want to share that with us? Because this is the first time that I'm going to hear it, so I'm interested now.
Okay, so when I started to work on this comic book, to transform my script into a comic book, it reminded me, of course, of the comic books I used to have and the artists I loved, like Neil Adams and Frank Miller and Bernie Wrightson and all, the ones that are in the back of my mind. Because when I was looking for artists, I'd be saying, well, I love these artists, so looking for someone maybe with, and if you see the cover of the graphic novel, you might see, hey, there's a bit of Bernie Wrightson there. The artist, he has his own style, but he loves Bernie Wrightson as well, and I'm sure was influenced a bit by him. So as I was rethinking of all those artists I loved, and thinking back of the comics I used to own, I was talking to friends and saying, it's too bad that I don't have my comics anymore, and they're all gone, and et cetera, et cetera. And when we watch shows like, let's say, Antique Roadshow, and you have someone who inherits, or just the mother says, "Oh, this was in the attic," and whatever. I was thinking, wouldn't it have been fun if, instead of just getting rid of them all, they had been in an attic somewhere, and et cetera. The next day, I get a call from a friend of mine that I used to be roommates with when I had my comic book collection. We lived in the house of some of his aunts in the basement, and they were moving, and he had to go. He had left some boxes there, and as he was going through the boxes, he found a box that was just written like correspondence on it and like something like accounting, whatever. And when he opened it, there was comic books in it. And he says, "Well, these must be yours." So I go, "Oh my God, I'd forgotten a box of comic books like years ago, like we're talking 25 years ago. So in my mind, I'm saying, well, it was probably a box of crap because I wouldn't have forgotten anything
The good
important.
stuff. Yeah.
No, because I knew even back then comics were worth less, but I still knew which ones were more important. Anyway, so he said, "Oh, I'll bring you the box tomorrow." So at that time, I was watching the Daredevil series on Netflix, and was reminded, of course, of the Frank Miller comics and everything, and all, how it wasn't, the series was clearly inspired by that run. So knock at the door, I go, my friend gives me the box, open the box, first comic on the top, Daredevil by Frank Miller, the whole run is there. I continue going in, Neil Adams, all the Batmans, the Detective Comics, the Green Lanterns, Green Lantern 76, going on and on, a bunch of keys. And it's like, oh, okay. So I had forgotten some cool comics.
Awesome.
So then when I started to do research, because then I was, okay, well, how much are these things worth now? Because I knew they were worth something even years ago. And then my mind sort of boom, you learn about CGC, you learn about all these things, holy crap. And you learn about pressing and all these, oh my God, it was a whole new world. And it was sort of like opening Pandora's box. And you would have told me a few years ago that, oh yeah, more you'd be pressing comic books and doing all these things. Like I go, what? What are you talking about? It's like sending books to CGCs. What the hell's a CGC? I had no clue. I was completely out. And now I'm completely back in.
We suck you right back in, bro. That is how it is.
Right back in. So
and what's funny is the story you just told. I think there's a lot of people out there that are completely jealous right now, to be honest with you, because that doesn't happen that often, right? I mean, a lot of times when you let go of your books are gone. They've been thrown away. They've been given to someone, they've been sold, something like that. It's not often that you're able to get some of those books back. So you are definitely lucky in that respect. But I think what also probably resonates with people is that there's a lot of folks, including myself, that have gone away from comics and coming back and gone away and then come back and found this whole new world that exists that we did not see back in the day. And it's like, it is in many ways like being a kid in a candy store all over again, because now you can actually buy the books that you always wanted, that you used to see on the wall that you couldn't buy as a kid because you never had money. You can actually do it now. So that I didn't know what the story was, but I was entertained. I was entertained by the whole story. So shout out to your buddy, man, and the honesty that he had in actually calling you and giving you a box of expensive stuff back. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, he's a friend, and also he wouldn't even have known they were worth anything at all. So
maybe I should call some of my buddies from back in the day to see whether they have some of my comics somewhere in their houses. I don't know. It would be cool if they did, So your graphic novel, 10% of your graphic novel, I guess, is going to be released here really soon on Kickstarter. Can you give us a little bit of some details around that?
Yeah, well, the Kickstarter, actually, the book is finished. I'm actually doing the last steps like in the next few days to send it off to the printer. It's done, so there'll be the graphic novel, 110-page graphic novel. And also there will be a floppy with some variant covers, some gorgeous variant covers from an artist here from Montreal called Donald Caron, who's mind-blowing. He's great. So there'll be a bit for both. There'll be those who just want to read, they can take the full graphic novel, but those who want the collector sort of floppy to have like the first appearances, et cetera, they could also buy the floppies. But the Kickstarter is not to raise money for it to happen. It's happening. So you can order it and you'll get it like, second week of May, it'll be shipped to you. And I know how to ship comics. I know Gemini mailers. I know bag and it's like I take care of comics like you do. Yeah. So whatever someone buys, they'll get in perfect condition. So that's not a worry, and there's no worry that they will get whatever they pay for, because it's not a question of raising enough funds. The funds I will raise are actually just to help me like continue this crazy mad adventure to get me to the end, you know, and so that's pretty much it.
So will the Kickstarter link be live on your website when it actually kicks off?
Well, it's I will be sending whoever, like on clanofthedevil.com, you can get a free preview taste of the comic, and with your email, then I will email everyone once it goes live. But there is also on Kickstarter a pre-launch page that you can click on to say, hey, alert me when this goes live.
So what I would say to you is there is a link to your website in the description of this video right now. Cool. But when you get your Kickstarter link, if you can send that to me as well, I will also embed that in a link in the description to make it simple for folks to be able to find it. So my hope is that the folks that are watching this now and also on replay will be able to check you out and be able to support this endeavor that you've been on for a while. I mean, it's going to be nice, I think, when you have that final copy or that first copy in your hand of your graphic novel. I can only imagine what that's going to feel like.
It's going to be strange because, you know, I wrote the first draft in 2002 and started to work full-time on the comic book in 2013. So it's been 8 years of full-time work on the comic book itself. So to finally have at least the first one out, it is going to be quite a moment.
That's going to be cool, man. So to that point, as we get ready to wrap up here, do you want to shout out your social media handles, your website, all that kind of stuff? Yes, it's going to be in the description, but I also want to give you an opportunity to verbalize it for folks.
Really, it's clanofthedevil.com. So www.clanofthedevil.com, that's the official website. There is a Facebook page that's called the same thing, Clan of the Devil. So those are pretty much it for now, but it should be enough to find the project. And also, yes, for people, there is a magazine called Rue Morgue Magazine that is coming out, I think, in a week or two. That'll have, I'm on the cover, there's a blurb about my project, so that's very cool. So if anyone reads that magazine, there'll be a big article on it about my project.
There we go. Maurice, I want to thank you, brother, for taking time out to join me to talk about your graphic novel. I wish you luck. And like I said, when the Kickstarter kicks off, you let me know, and we'll do some other stuff to kind of support you. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
I thank you, Regie. And of course, I'll be sending you a few copies so you can maybe have a few giveaways and stuff like that. And to thank you as well.
Make magic happen, my friend. Be well.
Super. Thank you.
Oh, I cut him off. My bad. I cut him off. I hit the button too soon. But again, that is Maurice. He is an indie comic book creator that, again, reached out to me, and he's doing some really, really cool stuff. I watched the full trailer that he did of like 1 minute and 30 seconds. I read the preview. I've done a little bit of additional research, and I think City in here did a little Google search as well on who Sonny Bean was. So shout out to folks. And again, if you guys can support him, I think it would go a long way. We have to take care of one another. All right. So I want to give you guys a heads up on a couple of things, and then we are going to wrap this thing up. Want to give you guys a little news. I received a message from Mikey Sutton. And Mikey Sutton's message to me earlier today was that it is official now that Sony and Disney have signed a deal where they are basically, it is going to be, did he say a 3-year deal here to stay? No, so he did not say how long the deal was for, but Sony and Disney have basically signed a deal to make sure that they are able to work together into the future to continue having Spider-Man be part of the MCU. So I think that is really cool. This is some news that Mikey actually spoke about on December 16th. This is some news that he broke back then, and he confirmed it for me at 5:50 earlier today that it is official that Sony and Disney have signed another deal to keep Spider-Man in the MCU, which I think is really cool. And then to that point, there is a little additional Spider-Man news out there that we now know the title. We now know the title for the new Spider-Man 3 movie. And so it's going to be called Spider-Man No Way Home. And they are definitely on some home related stuff. So the first one was like Spider-Man Homecoming, then it was Spider-Man Far From Home, and now it is Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe the next one will be Spider-Man Home Alone or some other variation on that. But I think that there was a lot of jokes and memes that were being released over the course of this week leading into the announcement. I think I saw several that kind of popped up, different types of jokes and takes on the home concept. So again, some pretty good news all around for Spider-Man. I'm really excited to see that both Sony and Disney were able to reach an agreement to allow them to continue working together into the future. I think that the Venom stuff that is happening, I think people are excited about that. I think folks are excited about seeing Spider-Man in the MCU. Maybe we will hear more about like the Morbius that they were working on, and maybe even more like Spider-Verse stuff, because there's been a lot of rumors, as you guys know, about Spider-Man and what the future holds. But I think that in this instance, they are probably better off working together than working separately, more for Sony than the MCU. But I think it's going to be really cool to see Spider-Man continue to be integrated into things. So Spider-Man, what is the Spider-Man ET crossover? Phone Home. Spider-Man ET Phone Home. There you go, man. I'm telling you. What is the Spider-Man 5? What is that? Home Record. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out with this thing. So, Doug is throwing out a declaration here. He says that Disney may buy Sony. Man, that is something that I've heard a couple of people toss out. You never know. You never know what could happen. I mean, if the economy gets back on track, I don't know where Disney stock is right now, but they have to be hurting, given even their diverse nature, their diversified nature, and the different things that they're touching on. You have some weights. You have some weights that are pulling them down potentially, and so you never know what the future holds. Edgar is basically saying that title sucks. Edgar's not pulling punches tonight. He's like, nope, that title and Spider-Man, it sucks. So I respect it. Oh my goodness. The Almighty Liger King. Almighty Liger King, Spider-Man Homeless is the final movie, a true tearjerker. Well done, my friend. You guys are hilarious. No. Chris Bigger. You know who Spider-Man is, brother. I definitely agree with that. That is definitely good news. The Bratton brothers are up in here. It's good to see you guys. Master Blaster says no Spider talk. He says that because he is trying to get a lot of signed Spider-Man books. And brother, I can't help you. I think your yellow waters are about to turn a little orangish with the blood that flows into those yellow waters. Doesn't red and yellow make, I don't know my colors mixes anymore. I'm beyond some of that stuff. Jerry over here is giving a shout out to bring back Andrew Garfield. Man, I will tell you, man, there are there are so many rumors out there right now as to what the future holds for the Spider-Man franchise. There's a lot of people that are betting everything on the fact that we are going to get some Spider-Verse stuff with the different Spider-Men that have played Peter Parker in the different movies, that stuff's going to come together. And I would say to you that anything is possible. Anything is possible at this point. And I'm honestly excited. I'm honestly excited to see all of this stuff unfold. You know, more and more we are starting to hear some of these movies are getting back on track. They're ramping up production again. I'm hearing a lot of things that are happening down in Australia. I was literally talking to my wife about that earlier today. They are trying to get things back on track, and I am excited about it. So it's going to be nice to see some of this stuff happens. When Disney tries to be, what is it, WB? That's when the feds step in. Yeah, man. Monopolies. What is Disney buying Sony? Joe says, no way, brother. We've all been this right here. Spider-Man Homeschool. That is what we've been in many ways doing for the last year, doing a whole lot of homeschooling. Chris Bigger sent me something earlier today. There was some other news that actually came out today. A lot of people were super pumped when it was announced that the next Deadpool movie was indeed going to be R-rated. A lot of people were super pumped about that. There was a lot of fears when Disney took over that the House of Mouse was going to soften Deadpool. People loved Deadpool. They wanted it to be R-rating. We got a confirmation, like 2 months ago, a month ago, something like that, that Deadpool was indeed going to be an R-rated movie. And I think that helped alleviate a lot of concerns that folks had. But today, there was something new out there, right? A lot of people, I think, are probably like, okay, if they made Deadpool an R rating, maybe we're going to get something a little more gritty when it comes to Blade. And there was some news that Chris Bigger sent me earlier today that says that may not be the case. They're saying that Blade, while it could be a really great R-rated movie, may not be R-rated. And so I did not get a chance to read the article in great detail, but I at least wanted to flag that for folks because that is definitely something that's on my mind, especially in light of what is happening with Spider-Man and the MCU. We potentially will get Morbius. We know that Blade is coming at some point. We don't even have a date for that, but you could have that whole Morbius Blade thing happen and some really awesome magic gets made. But again, the R rating would be a plus in I think many people's minds. At the end of the day, if it's a good movie, I think people can get on board with it not being an R rating. But again, time will tell. So scrolling through some of the comments. You guys are hilarious. You guys are hilarious. What is this? What is it? Deadpool better be R-rated. Yes, it will be. It will definitely be R-rated. Definitely. I think we do have confirmation on that. What is this? There will be some great Disney R-rated. Yes, count on that. You can count. I was watching something earlier, and it was I was watching this whole comedic thing. And it was basically saying how Ryan Reynolds knows how to do sarcastic jokes extremely well. And it was this whole thing where they just examined the art of the sarcastic comment. And then they started to contrast it to Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and how Deadpool does not conform to some of those norms, if you will, that will soften a sarcastic comment so that it lands appropriately. And it went through several scenes in which Deadpool was doing what he does, which is basically to offend people. And then I see the comment here. I think we can count on that. I think we can count on some self-deprecating humor and some shots being taken on the whole Disney thing. I think we can count on that one. So what is this? Jerry says, I remember when Disney never had an R-rated movie. When they shot Bambi's mother, wait a minute, it was Bambi's mother, right? Yeah, when they shot Bambi's mother, that was probably R-rated. There were a lot of kids that were traumatized with that one. What is this? Next Deadpool will be a comedic action musical. That's I hope not. I really hope not. Scrolling through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Dave says, I remember when it was a big deal for Disney to produce a PG film. Yeah, man, no doubt about that one. Scrolling through some of the comments here. What is this? Ryan Reynolds has been downhill ever since Two Guys in a yeah, I don't know. I dig Ryan Reynolds. I definitely dig him. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Crypt Keeper, how you doing? He says, enjoying your Go Collect videos. Yeah, and the bloggers over there, Go Collect, do a really fantastic job, honestly, of putting out some diverse content, which gives me a great ability to represent their ideas on video, you know, and the diversity of the content, I think, is really awesome by the bloggers. And then also the selection filter that the Go Collect folks apply, I think, is really wonderful. I actually had an opportunity earlier this week to talk with the new president at Go Collect. So that was pretty cool. So I've pretty much met and spoken with just about everybody at Go Collect at some point, from the owner all the way down. And I had an opportunity to chat with the new president. I think it was yesterday. Great conversation with her, and looking forward to doing more things with those guys, and because they're really good people. Scrolling through, Jerry G, are you back from your date with the wife, brother? It's good to see you, man. Welcome back. Scrolling through If you guys have not seen Dave's channel here on YouTube, he does these really hilarious skits with action figures. And so I can tell you for a fact that if you want to laugh in some ways in an R-rated fashion, this is a guy that you want to check out. Great sense of humor, great videos. Check it out. Check it out for certain. Scrolling through the comments here. Chris Bigger. All right. Oh, we have a call. So if you guys haven't seen, we have released a new series from the channel in conjunction with the folks at CGC. Basically, what I did is I had an epiphany the other day to reach out to them to get data from them on books that have been submitted into CGC. And thankfully, they were super receptive to the idea. Within like 2 days, they were like, we are in, let's do it. How do we do it? And we had a great conversation. We made magic happen. So I have released already with this data from CGC, the overview video, which basically provides context as to what I'm going to do. I've released the December data, which shows you the top 10 most submitted books into CGC. And I've already recorded the January 2021 data, and I'm probably going to release that either on Friday or Monday. So stay tuned for that. And we are getting geared up to run the report for the February data. And I think that where we ultimately are going to land is that we're going to do this report once a month. I think that that's probably going to be the easiest and best way for us to do this on a consistent basis. But the way that it's going to work is books are sent in to CGC. CGC, upon receiving and processing those books, are going to provide me with the data with the top 21 books that have been submitted into CGC. And this is before those books are graded and certainly before those books are loaded into the CGC database. And so it is going to, in many ways, be a leading indicator of what is actually happening in the comic book market, right? Because, most of what we look at right now is sales data, books that have been sold. And what we are going to be looking at is books that have been submitted, not yet graded, so therefore not yet sold. And so now we have a more complete picture of the overall market. And so I'm glad that people have been receptive to this idea that I rolled out just recently. And I'm honestly having a little bit of fun doing it. To be honest, I think the intro of the overview was pretty good. December was pretty good. I think January is a little bit better. And then I hope February we'll be able to continue to improve this thing over time by layering in more insight into maybe what's happening out there. So continue. I encourage you guys to continue checking out the videos and all that good stuff. All right. So thank you, Doug. I definitely appreciated that, my friend. Scrolling up through yeah, man, I try, man. I try. It was, again, I'm just pleased that they were receptive to the idea, and then I'm also a little shocked that no one else had come up with it, and that's not bragging at all, but it's like, I think a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about what is it that we can do that is new, that is innovative, that is differentiated. And I think people spend a lot of time thinking about that. And I'm honestly surprised that it had not yet been done. But I was definitely pleased that I came up with it and that they were receptive and that we actually did it. And now we just have to keep it moving forward, and definitely some fun stuff. So what is this? Master Blaster says, tell CGC I want a Mark Jewelers label design. I'm going to allow you to send that communication, my friend. I'm going to allow you to send that one. Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate that. All right. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. I hope that you enjoyed that interview that we did with Maurice, who is the creator of the Clan of the Devil. I will tell you, to the point that was just made about my back wall, we are going to be talking with two creators on Sunday, two creators that actually worked on Excellence from Skybound. We are going to be sitting down with those two creators this coming Sunday. And I definitely want to encourage you guys to tune in for that one, because I think that it's going to be a good conversation that we're going to have about some things that Skybound is attempting to do, but also about these two creators and the great work that they are doing on Excellence. All right. With that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed it. Videos that are coming out from the channel over the course of this this week because you can still win this X-Men issue number 13. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.